Hello, and welcome to Warhammer 40k's Grim History from the Beyond. I'm Zeckthar,
And I'm Yuksen.
and we are the chroniclers of all that was, and all that will be in the 41st millennium. We've seen the rise and fall of many empires, and this week we'll be looking into the newest empire in the Milky Way system, the Tau.
That's right, Zeckthar, the space commie. Although fairly new, they are fairly advanced in technology, as well as having strange concept of working with others as opposed to murdering those that don't look like them. This month, we will discuss the unusual beginning of this race, their caste system, how they work with the rest of the race of 40k, as well as the oldie but goodie notable characters.
Indeed, brother. Can't wait to talk about Commander Farsight. He is one of my favorites. But before we get started, if you enjoy our voxes of the history of the Milky Way system, feel free to subscribe, comment, follow, and like. And if you really like our stuff, please join our membership squad on our YouTube channel, Tales of Ashraka. With your support, we can continue to build and grow our voxes, as well as some cool extra stuff for you guys that join.
Now, if you're listening on Spotify, don't worry, you can help as well. If you click the support podcast button on any of our descriptions on Spotify, you can donate to our success too. Well, I think that about covers our intro, but tell me, Zeckthar, what are we going to talk about today?
Well, we've come to our favorite part of the show, notable characters. Huh? Yeah, and this week we'll be getting into the great generals and warriors of the Tau Empire.
Huzzah! I'm so excited. You mind if I start?
Very well, Yuksen. Who will we be starting with today?
Well, today we'll be starting with Oshazara, also known as Commander Shadowsun, also called the Spear of the Greater Good, the true disciple of Commander Puretide, and heroine of the Third Sphere expansion. She was the commander of the Tau Firecast military campaign that carried out the Tau's Third Sphere expansion, after the alleged betrayal of Commander Farsight.
What? Blasphemy!
Shh!
Why, sorry.
The Tau Empire's ruling ethereal supreme Aun'Va selected a more steadfast replacement to conduct the Third Sphere expansion of the Tau Empire. The Great Ethereal selected Commander Shadowsun for this important role. But let's rewind towards her earlier life. Over 300 years ago, Oshazara was a brilliant young warrior. Her successes and matchless performances at the Firecast Academies earned her recognition as one of the most able military minds in the Tau Empire. As such, she was granted the honor of studying personally under the ailing but legendary Commander Puretide. Despite being the youngest of all Puretide proteges, Oshazara scored exceptionally well in all simulations, outclassing all others, save one, the most highly favored of all Puretide students, Commander Oshova, aka Farsight.
That's my boy!
From the start, theirs was a bitter rivalry, as the two most gifted Tau commanders in the Empire strove to gain their wizened master's approval. During the battle on the Deleth Sept world, where the Imperium's Democle's Gulf Crusade was finally halted, it was Commander Farsight's audacious counterattacks that drew the most attention. However, they would never have been possible without Shadowsun's patient ploy to draw out and overextend the Imperial battle lines. This ongoing competition between the two commanders was abruptly halted by the death of the venerable Commander Puretide. The Ethereal High Council was not fully convinced that the mind capture devices and holograms of the Earthcast engineers would be able to recreate the teachings of their fabled mentor. So, to ensure Puretide's teachings were preserved for future generations, it was decided that several of his top students would be placed in stasis. Upon the orders of the Ethereal Council, the select few, including Oshazara, slept in frozen animation, unaging, until a time when they would be most needed, a time of great expansion and furious battle. Although Aun'Va plans to awaken Commander O'Shazera at the dawn of the Third Sphere expansion, the largest orc invasion of the Tau Empire accelerated the Ethereal Supreme's meticulous calculations. Yet even this, the wizened Aun'Va turned to his advantage. Appearing in a time of great need, Shadowsun has once more proven herself a patient huntress, meticulous in her planning, yet swift in action. Her ability to draw foes into well-conceived killing zones lured numerous orc armies to merciless deaths during the fighting of what is now called the Great War of Confederation. Yet, as the situation dictated, she could be bold. In order to end the fierce fighting in the Kresh expansion, she led a stealth cadre straight into the heart of the orc encampment to deliver a killing stroke. Timing her strike to coincide with an artificial eclipse, the Tau forces used their jetpacks of their XV-25 stealth suits to deploy from the low swooping Orca dropships. Under the cover of the unnatural darkness, the greenskins never knew what hit them. In an instant, their leaders were riddled with burst cannons before being finished off with searing shots from fusion blasters. It was Shadowsun herself who personally sought out and targeted the warlord, bringing down the hulking alien with precision fire. As the alien hordes milled about in confusion, the rest of her cadre joined the fray. Without their bosses to lead them, most of the orcs panicked and fled, only to run into well-placed ambushes. By the time the sunlight burnt through the obscuring veil, the battle was over, and a new Firecast legend was born. Aun'Va was quick to promote the decade commander, for in her he saw embodied all that was noble about the Firecast pursuit of the greater good. Here was a Tau commander who would not shirk from duty, who would not forget her vows to her people, or her loyalty to Aun'Va himself. When he declared the Third Sphere's expansion, Aun'Va also announced the warrior who would spearhead the most important of its stacks, Commander O'Shazera, now called Shadowsun, in honor of what was then her greatest triumph. In her first speech as Supreme Commander, Shadowsun made her address from the Montier Battle Dome, the site where Farsight had famously trained. Arriving resplendent in her new prototype XV-22 stealth suit, it was a sight to stir the martial hearts of all who viewed her. With the entire Firecast watching, Shadowsun began by firing her weapons at the statue of Farsight, obliterating it in a burst of white-hot desecration. As the dust settled, she outlined the new campaign they would soon embark on. She spoke of honor, the sacred code of fire, and all important, the law of Tau'va. After this address, every fire warrior shouted in one voice, ready to follow their new commander to any end. Within days, the Third Sphere expansion had begun, and under Shadowsun's leadership, the Tau Empire had proved unstoppable. With Imperial attention elsewhere, and the Tyranid orc menace temporarily contained, Firecast spearheads drove into the outlying systems of the Democul's Gulf, the Purtis Rift, and even beyond, forming 5 new Tau colonies in a halo around the original Sept worlds. Leading from the front, Shadowsun seemed to be everywhere at once, and her assault on Agrellan, a hive world of the Imperium, during what became known as the Battle of Mugalath Bay, opened up the entire Dovar system. Shadowsun proved her worth as a leader, yet the fighting was vicious and a deadly cat-and-mouse game with the Imperium began to take shape. After the first battle of Mugalath Bay, where she crushed the opposition, she only found defeat at the Battle of Voltoris against her most hated foe, the White Scars. Reeling from her defeat, she gathered more forces and pushed back into the Imperial space and succeeded in a campaign known as the Perfectia Campaign. Unfortunately, the White Scars and their allies were broken but not beaten. And in 999.M41, the Imperium of Man launched their retaliation known as the Second Agrellan campaign. Though successful during the Perfectia campaign, which followed the first battle on Mughalath Bay, Shadowsun was surprised when the Imperium used the war as a distraction to strike at Mughalath Bay, the former Imperial world of Agrellan, once more. The ground invasion went well for the Imperium, and though Commander Shadowsun spun yet another of her traps, the assault proved clumsy and hastily assembled. It became apparent that the Imperial forces would weather the assault. Then the skies turned red, for Commander Farsight and the forces of the Farsight Enclaves had come to the aid of their estranged brethren. Shocking all sides, Farsight himself appeared on the field, followed by his command team, the Eight. They led a great Mont'ka assault on the Imperials. The Imperial commanders realized that with the arrival of the Tau reinforcements, victory had been snatched from their grasp, and the world could not be reclaimed. They ordered a withdrawal in force, moving to Black Fossil Ridge amid a heavy supporting bombardment. They were joined by the Space Marines, who were evacuated from the field by Thunderhawk gunships, save for the White Scars contingent under Corsaro Khan, determined to claim the head of Shadowsun as they had sworn. The tide seemed to turn again when the Physio Assassinorum Executioner Force appeared on the battlefield, determined to slay the Tau's most important leaders. As chaos erupted from the Tau forces with the assassins' attacks, Shadowsun managed to rally the Tau and withstand multiple reinvigorated Imperial assaults. However, while in her command post, Shadowsun was suddenly assaulted by a Calidus assassin disguised as Ethereal Ankar. Shadowsun was wounded, but with the aid of a force of Pathfinder bodyguards managed to take down the shape-shifting Imperial operative. But other members of the Tau Empire's critical leadership were not as lucky.
More about that later, Yuksen. Sorry, carry on.
Shadowsun herself only survived the destruction of Mughalath Bay due to her earlier wounding at the hands of a Calidus assassin, which forced her to recover aboard the Tau starship, free from the restraints placed on her by Aun'Va, and grateful to Farsight for his aid during the battle. Shadowsun secretly leaked information to her former ally that the Ethereal High Council had ordered her to capture him. Now, before you give me your opinion on Commander Shadowsun, I do wish to make a point that Commander Puretide had 3-star pupils.
Really? Well, who was the third one?
The third one's name is Shas Okias. He's less well known because, in comparison to the other two, which were, as you can tell by their track record, more phenomenal over a wider spread area of expertise. His mastery is more focused in what they call Monat or Lone Warrior type combat. So that would be the person that you would send to like infiltrate to as much damage as they possibly can, and then maybe have people come in.
General. It sounds a lot like the Mont'ka. Now, you mentioned this briefly earlier. For those that don't know, the Mont'ka, that is it's a formation that the Tau use. It's very similar to if you're talking about, like, for instance, Terran 42 basic strategy, the hammer and anvil, right, Yuksen? We've talked about that,
right?
The Mont'ka would be the hammer part. The whole point of a Mont'ka assault is to like be a driving spear point into whatever they're trying to hit. That's why it was so imperative anyways that when he showed up and when he did and what he did was so important anyways to the Tau.
Yeah. Also, he was
kind of saved their bacon, but yeah. Go ahead.
Okias also is one of the people who uses a ghost keel.
Oh, what's a ghost keel?
A ghost keel is like the best way to describe it is it's one of those huge crisis battle suits with the stealth capability of
One of the stealth suits?
Yeah, the stealth suits.
What is it? It's an XV-22, I want to say.
Yeah, the one that
Or sorry,
Shadowsun
XV-25.
uses is the XV-22.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and Shadowsun uses the XV-25. Sorry, my bad.
No. She used to. She's
Oh.
now using the prototype XV-22 stealth suit.
Oh, what's the difference?
Don't ask me.
Uh-oh.
The design, for one thing.
I'm guessing it's probably sleeker, probably faster, would be my guess.
And able
It's
to mount
sneakier.
2 like plasma weapons on it.
Oh yeah, if I recall right, the XV-22's got
Instead of
that.
like the blaster, the burst.
Yeah, it's almost like a Melta, but like worse.
Because it has better range.
Which, well, it's not much better range. I mean, it's still like a short ranged weapon, but it's like more powerful. Like with a Melta, anyways, you could, burrow through anyways, or Lehman Russ tank.
Fusion blasters.
Yeah, this thing, anyways, would go through the tank at that range. Probably the best way to describe it. But getting back to just Shadowsun, anyways, there's a couple things that I find actually fairly interesting about her. First off, is it's a her. I mean, we've kind of discussed, anyways, about the Tau Empire, anyways. Normally, the guys are the ones, anyways, that are doing all the fighting, and yet,
well, the ones that are mentioned, anyways.
Yeah, but here is this commander, anyways, and she's very capable, and she does a very good job. I mean, honestly, anyways, she's probably the greatest female commander in the Milky Way system, I would think. I mean, if you're looking at the the Eldar's got what's her name? The one that brought back Rabute Gilliman.
Yeah, but she isn't really what I'd consider military command.
More of like a prophet part.
Because I think she leaned more towards using her
magic
ally. No, her ally when it came to the military things, or allies, I guess.
Yeah, but
pretty sure the Harlequins didn't really follow anybody else's orders.
Yeah, I mean, in the Imperium, you've got pretty much the nuns with guns. But the reason I say this, though, is because comparatively, anyways, she is like at the front.
Yeah.
Of the most important battles, and you just don't see that pretty much anywhere else. Which I think is actually kind of interesting. It kind of shows how the Tau, anyways, are a little bit more, I guess, what's the word I'm looking for? Progressive. But she's also, anyways, the other thing that I like about her is that she has very good pacing with what she does.
Until something really, really gets under her skin.
Yeah, okay. There are times, I mean, don't get me wrong, anyways, and I think this has to do more with her youth than anything else. I mean, you mentioned before, anyway, she's the youngest of Pure Tide's pupils.
Right.
And this concept that there was a time, anyways, where the White Scars threw her into a trap, anyways, and she got so pissed off, anyways, she made a lot of critical errors. We didn't have time to talk about it, but
yeah.
The thing is that normally, anyways, she has very good pacing. So she has a concept, anyways, of when to attack, when to hold the line, when to establish traps. It's something that you don't, and a lot of this, anyways, I mean, yes, she learned from Pure Tide, but I think a lot of this is intuitive too.
Yeah. I think part of one of the reasons why she can act irrationally is because sometimes she's blindsided.
Yeah.
Then she's, at least for a brief amount of time, it's almost like a reflex action is what it seems like. It's really bad reflex action.
Yeah, but you kind of want that, though, in a commander, don't you? You want somebody that, at least anyways, instead of just going, oh, run away, you got somebody anyways that the knee-jerk reaction is to attack. I mean, both have their setbacks. And like I said, we just mentioned something anyways about the White Scars, but this is, for her anyways, to me anyways, this is a rarity. And you can only count like 1 or 2 times that this actually happens.
Yeah, the one of the things is one of the things that I think that she would suffer greatly against Alpha Legion, but uh, the reason why I say that is because
Yeah.
them and the White Scars, two of the things that they do extremely well is traps.
Yeah.
And even though Commander Shadowsun also does traps, I don't think that she's at the level that they're at when it comes to
She hasn't had,
that they can do.
well, Yuksen, she hasn't had 10,000 years of war, anyways, to educate her. They've only been around for 6. But, yeah, and I would also probably throw in the Raven Guard in there, too. I mean, Raven Guard are also very good, anyways, at tactical jumps and fast attack, lightning strikes, and then just fading back off into the distance. So the 3 of them, anyways, I mean, okay, out of all 3 of them, anyways, which one do you think, anyways, she would have the best bet against?
Not Alpha Legion. I think Alpha Legion would be the worst one for her to go against. But that's just because
okay.
I can begin with.
I don't even want to put Alpha Legion in this question, really, because what would happen is that she'd get to the place, anyways, where they were going to be laying this trap, and then nobody would show up, and they're just like, "Where's everybody?" And then
they're all in rebellion.
No, and then all of a sudden, one of her Tau would be like, "I am Alfarius," and just start shooting people. So, it's just like, no, we're not even going to say Alpha Legion. So, which one do you think she has a better chance against, anyways? Raven Guard or White Scars? Which, by the way, both of them were actually in the Damocles, not the Damocles Crusade, the Prefecta Crusade or
the
campaign.
Prefecta and the
Magoloth Bay incursion.
Yeah.
And the Agilin, the second Agilin Crusade campaign. God dang it. That's another question. What's the difference between a crusade and a campaign? I don't know. But anyways, they're both important. But anyways, who do you think she's got a better...
can generally be shorter than a crusade.
A campaign? Okay, fair enough. But who do you think she's got a better opportunity, anyways, against? So she's going up against White Scars or Raven Guard.
When it comes to track record, she'd have a better chance against the Raven Guard.
Are you just saying that because she happened to take out the chapter master of the Raven Guard?
No, I actually forgot that she had. But that is a perfect example why. But
I think anyway. I kind of agree with you. Anyways, I think and don't get me wrong. I think both are very challenging foes, but White Scar is one of the things that they're very. I mean, you've talked about it anyways. Their fast attack, anyways, is like second to none. And the concept is they would figure out very quickly, anyways. We have to get in where we got to get close enough, anyways, for a sword to work, and they're fast enough to do it. Raven Guard do like it. They do like their snipers.
Raven Guard, I think part of the reason between the two is Raven Guard. The thing is the styles are different enough for example, like you said, fast attack, bikes, flanking, things like that. That's generally White Scar's area of expertise, is utilizing those things. The way that we've explained the Raven Guard, anyways, is more of they are a hit and then fall back.
Or they also use, anyways, just the concept of stealth.
Yeah.
A lot of times Raven Guard is used, anyways, as like the sneaky guys that sneak in the back, anyways. They assassinate somebody, and then they just kind of disappear into the shadows.
Yeah.
Another thing that I haven't mentioned before about Raven Guard are also very well known, anyways, for jump pack assaults. That is probably their most well-known thing, anyways, in actual just like combat. When there's a battlefield, that's what they're known for, anyways, is like using jump packs, and which is great, and
unless the enemy has that for standard equipment.
Yeah. I mean, okay, I will say this though, anyways. Don't get me wrong, anyways. I think she would have problems with both of them.
Yeah,
because I think that they're both very good chapters. It's just, I think that the White Scars would have more of an edge. That's all.
Yeah.
Even though I do like the Raven Guard more, but that's because I like the Raven Guard.
Well, I think that's all the time we can talk about Shadowsun. Who did you want to talk about first?
Well, I wish to discuss the ethereal known as Aun'Shi.
Ah, yes, the warrior monk.
Correct. Now, Aun'Shi is a member of the Tau ethereal caste, a modest Tau hero of many battles. Aun'Shi longs for peace, but is bound by duty to his comrades to wage war. Lionized by the fire caste as everything they believe a Tau leader should be. He is seen as a good luck charm by those fire warriors who have served with him. Aun'Shi is more comfortable in the company of fire warriors than many members of the ethereal caste and will frequently accompany a squad into battle. Hailing from the proud martial sept of Vior'la, Aun'Shi is an indomitable ethereal whose iron will has steeled the resolve of multitudes of Tau across many frontiers. A dedicated student of fighting arts for virtually all of his life, he has a level of expertise with the honor blade that few Tau can match. Thanks to his long career and many exploits, Aun'Shi is also seen by the fire caste as a sure sign of victory, and he is greeted everywhere he travels with many salutes and deep respectful bows. In fact, at the time of the battle that catapulted Aun'Shi to the position of full-scale hero of the Tau Empire, he was already nearing the age when an ethereal can choose to retire to a life of contemplation within the temple domes of their caste. Now, Yuksen, I did a little bit of research on this, and I couldn't really find anything. Retirement? This out of all of the Warhammer 40K galaxy, I've never heard of retirement for anybody other than maybe Cyphus Cain. And then they told him he had to go back to war. But this looks like it's actually constructed into their, 20-year plan. So, have you heard anything about this? Like retirement?
No, by the description, I know that they have it basically put up as, yes, afterwards, they no longer have to be at the front lines. They get to go to the temple and contemplate their life. But
Right.
in reality, I bet if somebody actually went in there, you'd find like shuffleboard,
Maybe a ping pong table. Yeah. They got a buffet
people in the
line.
corner going, why on earth did I make that decision?
A checkers set that hasn't been used in ages, but it's still sitting there.
With 3 moves on it.
Yeah, with 3 moves on it. Well, anyways, due to his many successes, Aun'Shi was entitled to spend his last years on the paradise world of A'Tal, an honor accorded to only those who have excelled in their drive for the greater good. Aun'Shi's last assignment was to bolster a new Tau colony named Keltir, established on a planet that turned out to be infested with orcs. The colony's progress had been slow, but with the arrival of reinforcements and Aun'Shi's canny alien fighting guidance, the Fire Warriors were soon able to clear the main continent. This allowed the Earth caste to construct great cities and better establish the exploitations of Keltir's natural resources. On his final inspection tour, however, Aun'Shi became trapped in the settlement of Filevash when a horde of orcs surrounded the compound. With their Shazver beheaded by the orc war boss, the fire warriors began to panic. Leaping into action, Aun'Shi used his famed honor blade to cut the orc leader in two, planting the weapon's half between the shorn halves of the twitching corpse. Heartened, the fire warriors started their firing line. Again and again, the orcs were repelled from the ever-constricting perimeter. Despite the growing mounds of dead, the greenskins hurled forwards, and everywhere they reached the Tau lines, Aun'Shi was there to meet them. Tirelessly, he chopped the savages down. But always they returned. As the orcs finally closed for the kill, a relief force arrived. When they reached the only building that remained standing in Filevash, they were surprised to find Aun'Shi still standing guard over the few survivors, his blade dripping with orc ichor. News of Aun'Shi's deeds traveled fast. Aun'Va knew well that the Tau must have new heroes. And here was an ethereal, a living legend amongst the fire caste, and the savior of Filevash. Rather than allow such a valuable warrior to retire, it was decreed that Aun'Shi would continue in his duties and lead fresh expeditions. Known as the Aged Wonder, Aun'Shi continues to bring great fortunes to the Fire Caste, leading them to yet more victories from the forefront of the third expansion. At present, Aun'Shi is reported to be leading a Tau expedition to reclaim the Farsight enclaves for the Empire. Well, brother, what do you think of this warrior monk? Not only that, but what do you think will happen when he actually meets Oshova, or aka Farsight?
For that, I really do not have any idea specifically. One of the things I do know, if I was Aun'Shi, I would be sort of pissed off at Aun'Va. I'd be like, I'm about to retire, and you're making me go out for who knows how long. Other than the fact that, he is one of the few Taos that actually is very efficient at close combat, which they're not well known for.
Yep. He's a warrior monk.
Yeah.
I mean, that in and of itself is awesome. He's like that old wizened guy at the top of the mountain, anyways, where every martial artist comes up to, anyways, like, I want to beat you in combat. And he just sits there and laughs at them, anyways, as they try to throw fists and feet at him, anyways. He just kind of blocks all of them and then kapow! Just like lands a hit and they go flying backwards. He's like, you have much to learn. And they all look at him and they're like, teach us. I mean, that's Aun'Shi.
Except for none of the Tau Firecast are going, teach us. They're like, okay.
Well, that's what I find interesting, anyways, if he ever comes in contact with Farsight. Because if Farsight could, by any chance, anyways, bend him to his ways, which Aun'Shi he doesn't seem on the same path as everybody else, if that makes sense.
Well, and obviously he doesn't have any love for Aun'Va, so that also is a little bit of a...
You ruined my retirement. I mean...
I understand that we need more heroes, but why?
Me. But yeah, no, I mean, like I was saying, though, is that, I mean, okay, so Farsight, we haven't talked about this. Farsight is one of the few Tau, anyways, that actually has a martial prowess in hand-to-hand combat. He's got this big hulking blade that he uses and a giant shield in his whatever battle suit that he uses.
I would assume that Caius is also efficient in hand-to-hand because of the fact that he mastered that whole lone warrior thing. And let's face it, being only efficient in ranged weapons when you are in a stealth suit.
He doesn't actually wear a stealth suit. He uses one
behind enemy lines. I know, but Caius does.
No. I'm saying Caius doesn't. He uses one of them big mech warrior things.
Yeah,
the pictures I've seen, anyways, or the pics I've seen of him, anyways, he's got two twin like blaster things,
drones
attached to him. No, not drones. like guns attached to his arms. But anyways, getting back to what I was saying, anyways, if Farsight could actually convince Aun'Shi, anyways, to join the Farsight enclaves, could you imagine those two, anyways, in hand-to-hand combat? I mean, Aun'Shi would definitely teach him. If he could actually, if Farsight could convince him to join the Farsight clan enclaves. And he's already pretty skilled, anyways, with his blade. But then to have, like, this master warrior monk train him, dude, it'd be awesome. And those two running into battle, anyways, especially against orcs. By the way, the orcs would love it all the way up until they died. These two guys, like, running at him, they're like, yes! Finally! Hand-to-hand combat! And then these two guys just, like, run through and just, like, desecrate everybody. And the last orc would be just like, good fright, right before he gets stabbed right between the eyes.
Yeah.
They would die happy. I mean, and to me, anyways, that's the other thing that makes Aun'Shi interesting. When you think of the ethereals, you think of, well, a guy that I'm going to be talking about later, anyways. The guy that's like in the little hovercraft. No, he's sitting up there and he's like, I'm the decider. Yeah, that's what you kind of think of the ethereals. This guy actually is willing to get in the mud with his troops.
Right.
Which to me, anyways, is like so bizarre for an ethereal. I mean, can you think of any others that have actually done anything close to that?
There are probably others that have in a way, but not necessarily at the very front lines.
Okay. So yeah, okay, I hear what you're saying. So you could see an ethereal,
Like, for
anyways,
example,
picking up a fusion blaster.
yeah, or like, for example, the reason why that one Kalos assassin was able to get close to Shadowsun. Shadowsun was at a mobile location, which means the person had to have been, the original person must have been some sort of combat situation.
Yeah, okay, yeah, but you're talking about Aun'Va here, anyways, and yeah, but
No, I'm not talking about on.
oh no, you're talking about the other one. Yeah, the
Talking
one
about
that.
the other one, which apparently was killed by an
Yeah,
assassin. An assassin impersonated him.
right. So that would be like, yeah, but I still kind of picture that guy more as along the lines of like a general, like you guys attack, not like get me my sword.
No,
You
I'm
know,
not
kind of
saying
thing.
that. I'm saying that he would be a combatant, though, if push came to shove.
Which I also have to mention, anyways. I know that it sounded cool when I said, anyways, that he's skilled above all others with the honor blade. But then again, anyways, the only people that actually use honor blades are ethereals, and like we've just mentioned, anyways, they don't really use them.
Well, honor blades. I think there are some Tao's commanders that use them. It's just more of a
Symbolic thing.
a symbolic thing, not actually as a combat weapon.
Right. Like I think every single Firecast has this particular blade. It's not called an honor blade. It's got a different name to it, and I can't for the life
Ritual
of me
blade.
remember it. What's it called?
Ritual blade, I
Yeah,
think.
it's like this ritual blade, and it's like it looks a lot like in Terran 42 a Tonto blade.
Yeah.
Very short. And when I first saw that, and I was first doing research on the Tau, anyways, I was like, "Ooh, what do they do with this?" Nothing. They do nothing. It's just there. Oh, okay. Well, you got anything else about Aun'Shi? I think he's actually a fairly interesting character, but
No, I think that's all I got for now.
okay. Well, Yuksen, who do you got next coming up?
Next, we have Darkstrider. I must say, this is by far my favorite Tal. He reminds me of Sergeant Tellian of the Ultramarines.
Yeah, you mean the guy, anyways, that we talked about in Final Thoughts for the Ultramarines? Because we couldn't fit him in with the notable characters.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. The kind of grizzled old scout.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who shouldn't really be a scout anymore, but he's decided he's going to be a scout.
Yeah, and he's very good at what he does. Yeah.
Yeah.
A little belligerent for the Ultramarines. Yeah, I can see that with Darkstrider. Yeah. They are fairly similar, even though completely different species.
Yeah.
Sorry, carry on.
Well, Sub-Commander Darkstrider, also known as El Miyamoto in the Tau lexicon, is an unconventional Tau Pathfinder officer of the rank of Chassel, who has refused several promotions in order to remain with his Pathfinder comrades. Began when Miyamoto, as Shasui, born on Tau, passed his trial by fire, scorning the honor of donning a battlesuit to join the crisis teams. He was next offered the opportunity to join the stealth teams, formation noted for its unorthodox methods. This choice, too, Miyamoto refused, preferring to return to the Pathfinder teams with which he had first served. Time and again, Miyamoto led his team into the most deadly of situations, but always escaped, bringing glory to his cadre. It was he that shut down the strange mechanisms of the Necrons on the moons of Galeth, and he who hunted down the tri-headed beast that terrorized the mining colonies of Neptun during the Great Wars of Confederation, when the grim leader earned the name Darkstrider. He infiltrated orc camps and used mark lights to pick out components of Gargants under construction. It was his team that set homing beacons on Warlord Grezgut's mechanical armor. Yet for all his heroics, Darkstrider always burned offers to command, preferring instead to lead raiding missions and terror attacks behind enemy lines. Now, tradition is everything to the Firecast, and adherence to the Code of Fire demands, above all others, respect for ethereals, military rank, and more experienced warriors.
Pardon me, Yuksen. Are you saying that the Tau also have their very own space book?
Yeah, kind
They
of.
just call it, instead of the Codex of Stars, they call it the Code of Fire.
Yeah.
Interesting. Sorry. Carry on. I just thought that was amusing.
Through declined promotions and subtle inflections when speaking to his superiors, Miyamoto regularly walks the fine line near insubordination, nearly unheard of in the Firecast. A perfect example of his personality can be seen in the following communication from Sub-Commander L. Miyamoto to Commander Ofai.
Oi! I engage and destroy the enemy column in accordance with the mission parameters. No, I received no such orders to disengage and fall back, Shadowsun. Perhaps there was some form of atmospheric interference, eh?
Suffice to say, some Tau commanders refuse to work with Darkstrider, claiming that he refuses counsel. Yet others, most notably Commander Shadowsun herself, value the sly tactics and obvious bravery of Darkstrider. Gifted with the prototype structural analyzer, Darkstrider has recently returned from his successes against the Space Marines in the Zeist campaign. His is not the way of the armored battlesuit, but his ability to tie up more valuable forces and then slip away has contributed to a string of victories that none can deny. His most notable success was during the Battle of Mugalath Bay during the Third Sphere expansion. This would be, mind you, the second Agrellan campaign that is occurring. He was instrumental in locating and eliminating an Imperial Vindicar assassin whose mission was to kill Commander Farsight, who had arrived unexpectedly to aid the Tau in its defense of its new set of Mugalath Bay from an Imperial counterattack. Yet Darkstrider's deed was not an easy one.
Yeah. Real quick, Yuksen. So for those of you that want to know anyways a little bit more about the Vindicari assassins, I actually did a short vox anyways about Grandmaster Morius Skuld, who was a Vindicari assassin. Kind of shows you how tough they are, but if I recall right, Yuksen, anyways, in this tale, you're gonna kind of show how awesome these assassins are. They are very, very hard to kill.
Now, several kilometers away from the assassin's position, but closing steadily, Tau trackers were on the Vindicar's trail. Sub-Commander El Miyamoto motioned for his pathfinders to follow. Few solar days previously, something had flashed up on the periphery of his structural analyzer, something altogether disquieting. On a hunch, Darkstrider had followed the trail, tracking the unique signature. Doubts that he and his pathfinders were chasing phantoms were put to rest when they came across the first victims. Another team of pathfinders, all slain with fully charged pulse carbines. They had not fired a single shot. As they were slain, more dead marked the trail. This foe had penetrated the Tau defenses with ease and displayed marksmanship beyond that which the Tau could achieve, even with their superlative AI targeting assistance. That the path had led him straight towards the Farsight enclaves made Darkstrider suspicious. Was this an Imperial agent? Or could it be a Tau from amongst the traitorous exiles who had abandoned the greater good? Darkstrider and his Pathfinder team wove through the ruins of the old refinery. Twice they ran afoul of the ongoing battles, once using their marker light to aid crisis teams in destroying a squad of White Scars on roaring bikes. Now, the ghost signal was close, but the structural analyzer could not pinpoint the exact position. Sweeping the ruins with his gaze, Darkstrider marked the tallest structure. That was where he, if he was the assassin, would position himself. With hand signals, he set his team in motion. Even from his perch far up in the ruins, the Vindicar felt the air rush of the landing Orca dropship. Within moments, the red-armored battlesuits began appearing. When his mission target was sighted, the Vindicar fired 2 swift shots. The first was shield breaker ammunition, a shot that passed through Farsight's force field and destroyed his shield generator, the device imploding with a flash. Without that protection, the second shot would penetrate the Tau commander's armor, exploding his head. After a bodyguard intercepted that second shot on his mission target, the Vindicar master sniper had found himself under siege. With an uplifted shield generator, Commander Bravestorm had covered Farsight, while the rest of his bodyguards, the 8, formed a crimson wall around their esteemed leader. The remaining Tau returned fire upon the sniper. Calmly, the Vindicar assassin loosed killing shot after killing shot into the red-armored Tau swarming below. The strike team of firewares attempted to run to cover, each dropping dead so quickly it looked like some macabre chain reaction. Next, an XV-8 crisis team was shot as they blasted upwards, the full-thrust jump jet sending the dead craning wildly. While incoming fire cracked around him, the Vindicar squeezed the trigger, shifting aim, and squeezed again. A riptide fell to its knees and did not move again. As soon as the Vindicar calculated that he would not get another shot on his true target, he was running. He leapt, tumbling in a diving roll upon another rooftop. His mid-jump volley caused both pilots of a swooping piranha to slump, their hovercraft spinning to a fiery death below. Seeing an escape path, the Vindicar moved over rooftops, killing as he went. Darkstrider's ambush was fast. His perfectly positioned pathfinder sent out a hail of pulse fire. With AI guidance, the shot patterns anticipated the lightning-quick Vindicar. Struck multiple times, the assassin's long rifle was blasted out of his hands. It wasn't the wounds that disoriented the Vindicar, but Darkstrider's perfectly timed photon grenade. The multi-spectrum light exploded, erupting as the Vindicar drew and fired his Exodus pistol. 6 Pathfinders dropped, but Darkstrider was only wounded. Firing his own pulse carbine from the hip, Tau seared holes in his foe, advancing until he was blasting away at point-blank range. He didn't stop shooting for a long time until the human assassin was long dead.
If you can really call a Vindicari assassin human.
Or any Imperial assassin for that matter.
Yeah, it's kind of
Pretty much.
bordering on that aspect. Well, it's kind of like Space Marines. Are they human? Yes. Technically.
Fair enough. What do you think about this guy?
Well, first off, anyways, I mean, as you just so eloquently described, the Vindicari assassin it's a tough foe to take down. I mean, Space Marines failed doing that. I mean, I think I mentioned anyways in that box that I talked about beforehand anyways. This Grand Master anyways, he is in a Thunderhawk and it's flying down on the bank's surface anyways. And it's just screaming. And he is at close range anyways, and he's able to actually shoot somebody that is moving.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there are, and I say that to also say anyways, that the other guy that I've only mentioned one other person I think of anyways that actually is as good as a Vindicari assassin when it comes to sniping, and that's Sly Marbo. And as you know anyway, Sly Marbo is Sly Marbo.
There are 2 other people I can think of that have been listed as possibly being as good.
Oh, really? Who are the other ones?
One of them was Tellian.
Tellian. Oh, yeah. The Ultramarine we talked about.
And then the other one was, well, it may be one person, it may not. What is his name? Exodus?
Oh, yeah. Yet again, another Space Marine, another genetically enhanced human. Yes. Yeah, it's few and far between anyways that you find people anyways that are that accurate. And not just that accurate, but I mean, if you think of like, for instance, Terran 42 anyways, when you think of snipers, they're the guys that kind of sit there and they wait for their target until they arrive and they take the perfect shot. This is a Vindicari assassin is somebody anyways that doesn't need to wait for the shot. I mean, they normally do, but if they're stuck in a position like you were just talking about anyways, they're still dead on accurate.
Yeah,
Which
well,
is
like, for
scary.
example, in midair, he shot 2 pilots in a piranha.
And for this guy, anyways, to actually blast holes in him, anyways, is pretty impressive.
Yeah, or the fact that he's able to kill somebody in a riptide crisis.
Yeah, the Vendikari assassin. Yeah. No, I was saying it was impressive that Darkstrider
Oh yeah,
took him out. But yeah, the other thing though about Darkstrider is that, I mean, pardon me if I'm incorrect about this, Yuksen, but you seem to like these guys. The kind of scout assassin dude that teaches other people, but he's just kind of got this a little problem with authority. Kind of the old wizened veteran. And
yeah,
it seems
because in most cases, especially in the most recent example being Telion, is generally the people that they're not necessarily the most, how to put it.
they're not the greatest.
People that they happen to be following are people that you kind of very once in a while want somebody to stick it to them.
Yeah.
The
Like Marty
space book is bad. Well, I'm going to tweak it a little.
Well, no, and I think I talked about this actually when we talked about the Ultramarine. Is that it seems like every single race, every single military unit that we've talked about has this guy. Well, not necessarily, anyways, the exact carbon copy, but it's like we just described, anyways. It's kind of like this old wizened warrior who's sneaky, and he's got a little bit of a problem with authority, so he's always kind of kept down on the low rung. But if you need a job done, this is the guy you talk to.
Right.
And it just seems like they all got this guy. Which, to me, anyways, says, anyways, that there's a little bit of leeway.
And they work.
I should say there's a little bit of leeway for greatness. Let's put it that way. If you were that
I think the
good,
closest you can get to that when it comes to the Space Wolves is when it comes to old wizened part, that would have to be the Wolf Priest.
Ulrich?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he also gave up a position that he could have taken and became Wolf Priest instead.
Okay, with the Space Wolves, I'm thinking more along the lines of Lucas.
But when it comes to the whole, like I said, when it comes to the whole, kind of against the rules sort of person, that would probably be Lucas the Trickster.
And okay, I will say Lucas does take it to an extreme.
Yeah.
I mean, the rest of these guys, they kind of it's more along the lines of like you had in that box, anyways, where it was just like, oh, I didn't hear anyways that I was supposed to, disengage. Well, we won. Everybody's like, we all understand what happened, and we're okay with it because you won.
And we can't prove it.
Yeah. Well, not only that, but even if we could prove it, it's kind of along the lines of you're already punishing yourself because you've decided that you want to be in this particular role. You want to be this. You want to be the sergeant.
Yeah.
It's not just along the lines like, hey, I want to move up in the field. It's like, well, you can't. It's like, well, why not? It's like, well, because you have a problem with the rest of us. They're telling you what to do. Oh, yeah, forgot about that. Well, anyways, I'm just going to go back here and, keep doing what I do. I was like, yeah, okay, yeah, we're cool with that, but we're not. That's the other thing. Well, we're not. But I hate to say it, Yuksen, but I think we only have time for one more guy. And I figured we would talk about the leader of the Tau. Well, sort of. And his name is Aun'Va.
What? Are you sure you want to talk about Aun'Va? I figure you'd want to talk about Commander Farsight. After all, you keep mentioning him each week.
Well, I was going to do Farsight, but the longer I studied and pulled up documents about him, the more I realized I couldn't put it into this Vox because I just simply didn't have enough time. But don't worry, for those of you listening, I will finish the Vox about Commander Farsight as a bonus Vox before the end of the month.
Sounds like a plan. Very well, brother. Go ahead and tell us about the Ethereal Lord.
Well, After a long rule, the ethereal supreme, Aun'Va, knew it was time for his last walk. The ceremony when an ancient member of that secretive caste disappears forever within one of their mysterious temple domes. Before departing, however, it is tradition that he nominate his successor as head of the Ethereal Council. So it was that Aun'Va assumed the role of the great leader of his people, assuming the title that translates best as Master of the Undying Spirit, or He that directs the greater good. This choice was long ordained, for from the beginning, Aun'Va displayed skills that made him a master of his caste. Even without technological aids, he was able to inspire those nearby to impossible acts or bend their wills to comply with his wishes. When his natural talents were boosted through artificial means, Aun'Va could implant powerful auto-suggestions that would last a lifetime and instill unbreakable loyalty. It is whispered by others of the High Council that when Aun'Va asked a question, he would already give the responder the answer. So natural was his skills, so powerful were his methods, that those who agreed with his counsel are never really sure if it was their idea or his in the first place. In all of his long life, there has only been one Tao who has been able to defy Aun'Va, and all know that it is best not to mention his name. Uh, you know this person by any chance, Yuksen?
Commander Farsight.
Yes, that is correct. Upon waking from cryogenic sleep, Oshizera was debriefed by Aun'Va alone. Never was the tale of Farsight's betrayal most skillfully told, and the story of his disregard for the greater good caused the young commander to shake with rage. Since that time, Aun'Va has had no further fears for the loyalty of the Fire Caste and has set his concentration fully on the expansion of the Tau Empire. In his most epic pronouncement to date, Aun'Va declared the beginning of the Third Sphere expansion. Flanked by a full ceremonial guard, Aun'Va gave a slow, deliberate speech, culminating in a rousing call to arms, a demand to proliferate across the stars in order for them to seize what must be taken. The guiding light of the greater good must reach those worlds trapped in the darkness of their barbaric ways. As his words echoed into silence, untold billions of Tau stood outside the council dome or listened to the broadcast throughout the empire, all bowed low as one. Aun'Va praised the work of his people, exhorting each to reach for yet greater heights. He expressed wonder at the latest Earth caste inventions and applauded the water caste, noting the alien diplomats neatly arrayed in his attendants to the left. To the air caste, Aun'Va dedicated a moment of reflection for their contributions. And for the fire caste, the ancient being rose off his hover dais and offered the old hunter salute, a deed no fire warrior could witness and remain unmoved. He even offered advice to his caste brethren, the Ethereals, saying that the only way to lead was from the front. The barbaric races of the galaxy were desperate for enlightenment, and only the caste combined, working for the greater good, could bring it to them. In this way, all castes were motivated as never before. Aun'Va's next action was to denounce the renegade Farsight, naming Commander Shadowsun as the new hero and military leader of the Tau Empire. She would lead the Third Sphere expansion, but the elderly ethereal vowed that she would not lead alone, for he himself would lend his counsel, personally heading to the forefront to guide her and the largest armies ever assembled by the Tau Empire. Then, before departing, Aun'Va spoke one last time, reminding every listener that personal sacrifice for the greater good of the Empire was required from every Tau. True to his word, during the initial stages of the Third Sphere expansion, Aun'Va was constantly at the front, heedless of personal danger in his zeal. His presence instilled courage, helping to drive the fire warriors ever forward. The other ethereals of the High Council attempted to dissuade Aun'Va from such risks, However, they realized the futility of their admonishments when they saw the holovid clips that were beamed back to the heart of the Empire. Every Tau, whether a worker in a factory complex on the busy Sept world, or an atmosphere engineer converting the air on a barren moon base of a future colony, was required to view such materials. There, they saw the battles of the front line, including Aun'Va on his hover throne, entering a breach in the battered Imperial Fortress wall. Aun'Va directing the devastating volleys of the Fire Warrior line, and Aun'Va standing next to the new technological marvel of the XV-104 Riptide. Piles of recently destroyed enemy tanks in the background. None who saw Aun'Va's noble attempts to persuade the last human defenders to lay down their arms could help but be impressed. Although the barbarians refused, and in the end had to be eradicated, it is still a sight that stirred something in the Tau, triggering a reaction of pride and determination. Aun'Va knew that to achieve victory, he needed commitment from the warriors at the tip of the spear, as well as from every citizen behind them. From the Third Sphere expansion, the Empire was on a total war standing, a whole realm committed to conquest and control in an overwhelming hostile galaxy. Yuksen, this sounds very familiar to the Great Crusade, does it not? But in a very small, compact view. It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, anyways.
From what I can remember of it, anyways.
Well, we will be getting into that next month, ladies and gentlemen. But anyways, the zeitgeist of the people was pivotal for belief in progress and continued faith in their own superiority, which sustained them in the coming years. All across the Tau Empire, morale was high, and all the casts recognized with Aun'Va to guide them. They would not fail in their destiny. The Tau would surely bring enlightenment to the galaxy. Aun'Va eventually met his fate at the hands of a Calexis assassin, who was sent to the beleaguered Imperial world of Agrellan Prime as part of the official Assassinorum execution force, which occurred during the Second Agrellan campaign. During the campaign, Aun'Va had become trapped in his personal bunker located beneath the ruins of the old Hive City due to the Imperial blockade. Somehow, the Imperials had learned of the Ethereal Supreme's location and dispatched the Calexis assassin to eliminate the wayward ancient. Slipping into and out of reality, the Calexis was a blur to the Tau and their myriad of sensors. He passed undetected, save only for an unsettling feeling that washed out in bow waves before his sinister presence. Fear ran before him, causing all nearby to shudder, and slowing or even freezing Tau AI functions. The shifting specter of inhumanity finally neared his target, blasting fire warriors, Tau guards, and gun drones apart with negative psychic streams of his animus speculum, or tore them apart at close range. When he finally reached his destination, Aun'Va knew that death had finally come for him. Wounded, his mind aflame, the ancient Tau fled for his life as his honor guard, knowing that they would die, willingly stepped between the flickering ghoul and their master, absorbing the assassin's onslaught. Fleeing to the abandoned Hive City above, terror followed at his heels. When Aun'Va's hover drone malfunctioned, damaged from flight or battle, Aun'Va left it, moving as quickly as his ancient limbs allowed. His flight was for naught, as the Calexis assassin finally caught its prey. The end of the Ethereal Supreme was neither swift nor merciful. In the aftermath, the Tau had never before tasted so deeply from the bitter cup of defeat. The great losses they sustained marked the end of an era and a grim entry into a bloody new age of war. And when the Ethereal High Council learned of the Ethereal Supreme's death, they covered it up. Terrible rumors swirled around the Tau Empire, but all fears and doubts were silenced by the announcement that, in a matter of days, Ethereal Supreme Aun'Va would broadcast a speech, his new statement to be beamed across the Sept worlds and beyond. It was to be a message of hope and courage, a message to be seen by all the children of the greater good. But in truth, it was merely a holographic projection of Aun'Va, crafted by the Ethereal High Council to maintain morale, lest the Empire collapse into despair. Well, brother, what do you think of this grand poobah of the Tau Empire?
Seems to be somewhat egotistical.
You think? No, okay, as a leader, what do you think of him? I mean, I kind of mentioned anyways, he sounds a little like the Emperor, but like the little kid of the Emperor. I mean, seriously, what do you think of this guy?
Nothing much more than that, and he seems to be campaigning for something off to the side. It almost feels like, see what I did here? But did you really? No.
Well, okay. Before we hang up the phone, I really do actually want to know what you really think of Aun'Va.
Well, he's dead.
Thank you. Yes, I just said that.
So I think what I think is
when he was ruling, what did you think of his rule?
I think that he thought things through, but at the same time, so the decisions they made, like for example, running a publicity campaign throughout a war zone, probably wasn't the best idea.
Why?
Because it probably helps pinpoint where you are.
Okay. Because honestly, anyways, for propaganda use, anyways, it was brilliant.
Yeah. At the same time, though, it's like, hey, I'm here.
Well, on that sad end, well, folks, I believe we've run out of time this week. Join us next week as we do our usual end of the month Q&A. And if we have time, perhaps discuss either the spheres of expansion or some of the pretty cool tech the Tau wield.
Can't wait, Zeckthar. But if you enjoyed this Vox, feel free to subscribe, comment, follow, and like. If you really like our stuff, please join our membership squad on our YouTube channel, Tales of Ashraka.
Indeed. But before you go, we got some exciting news to talk about, and that would be the shop. It's officially up and running, and we've got all sorts of wonderful stuff there. We've got shirts and hats and even a couple of stuffed animals. I know Yuksen's favorite is actually the rabbit. But feel free to click on the link and tootle over there and check it out.
Righto! But if you are listening on Spotify, don't worry. I will make sure the link is in the description so you can check it out yourself.
Yes, and as always, thank you for listening. And
until next time, this is Zeckthar
and Yuksen
signing off.